Sign of better players is that they drop their thumb, which is something I had to work on a little bit. My grandma said her daddy, although he was a very hard-working dude, worked from can to can, and he lost all his instruments when they had to run off the plantation the first time when my grandma was about 6, so she's the only one that remembers any of his instruments. But he played a banjo just this same style, same tune and same pitch. As a matter of fact, I saw a video of Mike Seeger with a old fretless banjo it didn't have tacks, but it had sinew tightening the head on there, tightening the drum head.
Oh, that's
and my granny said, my daddy played banjo, looked just like that. And I would say, that's kind of old banjo. And she said, my daddy was an old man. And it's true. My granny was born in 28. Her daddy was born in 86. So he was 20 years older than his wife, who 20-some years older than his daughter, So my grandma was a throwback, I'm a throwback, and apparently her daddy's a throwback. So, if you a throwback and you born in 1886, you terrible. That's the type of dude my great-grandfather was, French Indian, mama's pure-blooded Choctaw out the woods. Daddy's a Frenchman, couldn't speak no English, so he married a Indian that couldn't speak nothing but French and Choctaw. And, great-grandpa didn't believe in wasting no bullets on no hogs. He was like, go out there and get them.
And the French, so they came down from Canada, straight down, and were further west than a lot of the people moving in from the East Coast. So what time is it, somebody?
It's 1:23.
Oh, good, okay, so we've got till
1:45.
1:45. All right.
So one thing I wanted to say was, they say that, Cece was pointing out that dropping your thumb, which means that people tend to use this string right here for a drone, so it mostly just stays back there. But what I tend to do is this. See the difference? When your thumb gets on there, under there, it gives you a little bit deeper rhythm. And I think that's a big part of banjo rhythm. We've got this little problem with banjo culture. It can kind of be put on, I guess, what we call folklore revisionism, because now it's to the point where the more rural and frankly unschooled your style is, that is supposed to be the culture of banjo music. That wasn't always the culture. That's sort of a phenomenon that didn't happen, I guess, since the 30s or 40s. But there was, as the banjo moved up in pitch and design, the banjo started a little bit different than this. They got frets sometime between the 1870s and the 1880s, and the pitch was steadily going up. And all that is to say the banjo was getting more advanced. Banjo playing was getting more advanced. People were doing a lot more with the banjo than they were before. They were just playing basically 2-chord music on the banjo. 1 and 5, that's sort of what the banjo was tuned to.
Okay, now here's an issue in my concern, which is that traditional banjo is not really thinking about chords, but thinking about notes, sounds.
It depends what you mean by traditional.
Well, just passed on by word of mouth and imitation. But notice, I didn't ever think of this until you just showed us what you did, but in a certain way, you're playing the banjo using 2 drum strings and skipping the 4th string, which was the last added one.
Yeah.
So in a way, notice how he is using the short string twice in a certain way, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. It's just add more drones, and there are more droney songs than not. but I think the Droney songs only kind of stayed the public mainstay in two places where there was a lot of dancing for relentless amounts of time, which there tended to be lots of. There was always a relentless amount of dancing. But I guess my main point is banjo music steadily advanced. It didn't stay the same all the time. And if it did, it meant you had some hard times. It meant you couldn't read, you couldn't write, so you couldn't come on Saturday night, as my folks used to say, which is the exact song my great-grandma used to start. My great-grandma couldn't read or write till she was in her 60s. And my grandmother brought her out to Los Angeles. That would have been in 1958. My great-grandmother came out to Los Angeles. She worked for a couple years, then quickly retired, learned to read and write and vote in her 60s. Every place this instrument was getting more advanced and more popular. It goes from something looking like this to something looking like this. Now, this is a banjo from 1925. So other than the resonator and a few other things, this instrument here was invented in 1885.
What is that one?
This is a Bacon and Day.
Bacon Day, yeah.
Yeah. So notice these are very different types of instruments. This is the pitch of the one I've been playing. Excuse me. And this is the pitch of the modern banjo.
So wait,
Maybe I get
just
all
one
five.
second before you switch on. So the left hand on the banjo playing is doing hammers on, pull-offs, and slides. Will you help them, show them that again a little bit, just a touch?
Little rural
The little
style.
left hand stuff, yeah. And
You got the idea.
got it? Hammer on, pull off, slide.
Now you can hear the same thing on this banjo if it's in tune.
And by the way, the first probably exchange was on the fiddle before it arrived before the banjo in this
Well,
country.
I'd say the first exchange would be on the fiddle because every culture in the world had a fiddle tradition at that point. By the time America was founded, every culture had a fiddle tradition from around the world. So I think that was a great place for everybody to sort of meet up. Thing number two, the founding fathers wanted Scottish music to be the music of the nation. So they went through great pains to bring over fiddlers and fiddle music from Scotland to have it be the music of the nation. I think one of the first national anthems was old Celtic Scottish tune. You know that one?
What's the name of that?
Rejoice, Columbia sons, rejoice, to tyrants never bend your knee. But join with heart and soul and voice for Jefferson and liberty. But you know, it's like, now that's an anthem. That's all right. Let's fight some British. Let's go.
But nonetheless, the African Americans were playing the fiddle before the
Share the link with me?
Scots Irish.